This girl became a millionaire at the age of 17, but soon realized it's no child's play. But before we start, please make sure to subscribe to m&rtv and hit the bell so you never miss any upload from us. Also, leave a like right now. When was the last time you thought of becoming suddenly rich? Every day, right? It's not a bad thing to see yourself as the king of the world. We agree that money can't buy everything, but still, there are things that money can buy and provide you with happiness. Laying on your bed, daydreaming about all the money you can have and all sorts of things you can buy with that kind of money are exciting, but can be depressing too, because in the end, we all know the reality of our lives. But there are people like us who dreamt of becoming rich, and believe it or not, they became a millionaire in a very unexpected way. This 17-year-old girl was working an $11 an hour job as a temporary receptionist before life surprised her with this opportunity that filled her life with fame and all the money in the world, but conditions apply. Buying a lotto ticket was never on her mind, but that's the beauty of life. You somehow stumble upon some unexpected things that change the course of your entire life. She was holding the lotto ticket, and then she heard the winning numbers. She had just won a whopping $1.4 million. She just made an impossible moment of life a possible one. The teenager will soon have Millionaire added to her name. This was just a start. Looking at her bank balance, she thought that her life was sorted for the best. She would never have to worry about anything in her life, and it's true. Who would have to worry about anything if a person had this much money in hand? Little did she know what awaits her. The sky that was looking bright to her would soon change color. There are around 90 million people in America that play the lottery annually and spend $200 on average. But here she was, a 17-year-old teenager who bought the lottery ticket for the first time in her life. And that, too, a winning ticket. You feel excited reading it, right? But Jane Parks sometimes wishes of not winning the lottery at all. Why is that? Winning such a huge amount of money at such a young age sure made her happy at first, but this fame and fortune came at a bigger price that can't be paid with this money. Jane left her 9-to-5 job. She was now free. She was in the center and master of her own sea. She took a 2-month vacation to Spain and purchased a house in Prestopen, Scotland. She always wanted a dog, so she decided to get one Chihuahua that would perfectly fit in her new way of life. She was spending and buying things as there is no end to it. Little did she know that later all the gold she was collecting will become obstacles through which it will become extremely difficult to move forward. Jane was on a roll. She kept checking off things from her bucket list one after the other. Exotic vacations, done. Buy a new house, done. New pet, done. What is left? A car. No cars. First, she bought a $23,000 Volkswagen Beetle and then a $34,000 BMW. When she got bored of both of them, she decided to buy a $25,000 bright purple Range Rover that had its interior colored on her favorite soccer team. What was left? Jane soon became like a famous celebrity. And why wouldn't she? She had the same bank balance as many celebrities have. She would go out partying with her friends in expensive clubs and places, and doesn't like to travel alone, so she took her friends on 5-star vacation to the Maldives, with all expenses paid by her. A good friend she is. Even we want one. It was like having a dream. She thought of something, and the next moment she had it. Be it anything, she could afford it all. If you think that's all she did with her money and life, then be prepared for this surprise. Several plastic surgeries, from breast augmentation to a Brazilian butt lift, she went for everything. She even had her lips and Botox done. In total, she spent almost $70,000 on these procedures. If you're thinking that she hasn't spent that much even being a millionaire, then my friend, you are wrong. Did you forget the 2-month vacation, expensive cars, new house, and all the partying and trips with her friends? Like many famous people, Jane never kept her spending on plastic surgeries a secret. For her Brazilian bum lift, she traveled to Turkey, but the result was not up to Park's expectation. She thought that this plastic procedure will lift her confidence, but rather than boosting it, her health went down. She suffered from sepsis, swollen lips, and cheeks due to a bad reaction from the anesthetic and the surgery. This was the start of her bad decisions. By the time Jane was 22 years old, she realized being rich was not at all like she thought it would be. She explained, "People look at me and think, I wish I had her lifestyle, I wish I had her money, but they don't realize the extent of my stress. I have material things, but apart from that, my life is empty." Even having millions in her bank account at such a young age, Jane was missing her normal teenage days. Shopping started to bore her. She was missing the excitement of getting a paycheck. Even with all the stuff she had around her, she felt alone and stressed all the time. She says, "I wish I had no money most days. My life would be so much easier if I hadn't won." All the money was turned into a curse. But why? When Jane's grandmother heard the news of her winning a lottery, she warned her about the situation where all the money won't make any sense. But as being a teenager, she ignored all of it. Who can blame her? Every teenager is like this. Jane said, "My Nana Ann told me, you might as well have given me a gun." I was like, "Nana, what are you talking about? This is the best thing ever." But now I totally agree. It must be hard for you to believe. How can a millionaire be having such a hard time? But Jane is the living example that showed the realities of having too much money in hand. What made her say this? What happened to her? When she hit her lowest, all of the things around her seemed meaningless. She couldn't think of any good reason that can put a smile on her face. Her precious purple Range Rover and her pet named Princess couldn't bring her happiness back. Later, she gave Princess to her aunt to look after. She started hating her Range Rover. It was flashy and people were always looking at me. It was far too big, she explained. She felt like she had lost her existence, and soon she lost everything. But how? Jane was exhausted from everything. Even after having everything, all she had close to her was sadness and loneliness. All she ever wished was freedom and wealth. Her wish soon turned into her biggest nightmare. Her life events affected her so much that she sought about speaking to a therapist. She couldn't recognize herself looking in the mirror. Who is she? What has happened to her? So many questions, and all had only one answer. And what was it? Although I've been to the Maldives, I much prefer Benidorm in Spain because nobody is looking down at you. She continued, "You can drink as much as you want." Jane expressed her feeling about not being able to fit into these luxuries. She felt like the odd one out in the crowd of rich people. If you really want to know who is your real friend, then don't look for them when you have everything, but when you don't have anything. We don't know who said this, but whoever it was said the truth of life, and Jane learned this the hard way. She had a generous personality, and of which her so-called friends took advantage in many ways. Later, she realized she doesn't even have a single person whom she can turn to. It was becoming unbearable for her, and little did she know, problems were not yet finished. They have just begun. Even Jane's love life had some issues. She was actively dating and meeting new faces, but still to them she was a means to an end. The 22-year-old had been in multiple relationships since she won the lottery, but realized that money interested them more than her. If not money, then they were after the fame with the youngest ever lottery winner. No real friends, no love, and no life. Things were really cruel to her, but who made it this way? She found out soon. Speaking on her experience with men, Jane expressed, "I've had horrible relationships and it's left me with a massive guard up. With the last one, I showered him with gifts. I thought it would make him happy. The more she gave, they asked." Jane was getting really annoyed by people. Her new life was not at all what she hoped, and then her life took a sudden turn for the worse. Jane Parks thought that after winning the lottery she would become like Paris Hilton, but the money made her blind, and she couldn't see who was fake and who was real. She expressed in an interview, "I've got a boyfriend now, but looking back, it was a scary thought," she continued. "I never knew what guys' intentions were and had to obviously keep that in the back of my mind. Lots of people come out of the woodwork." After it became public that Jane was dating former X Factor UK contestant Sam Callahan, their romance was all over news and television. but even this relationship sailed for a very little time and came to an end when she saw Sam kissing another girl in front of her at a party. When her relationship ended with Sam, she started dating 18-year-old Dundee soccer player Jordan Piggott. She has already been in a relationship with one public figure, and this new relationship was making her question the decision. Jane is the youngest lottery winner in the UK, and it was obvious for her to become a well-known public figure. The paparazzi would follow her every move. That made Jane Park a hot topic now and then. Soon, people who knew about her story ridiculed her lifestyle, her every move, and relationships. Soon, she realized that all this fame and media attention is not made for her. She wanted her normal life back. Fame got too much inside Jane's head, and as a result, she became something else personality-wise. She even had several run-ins with the law, including this famous incident where she allegedly drove her BMW through a McDonald's drive-thru under the influence. She was also arrested after getting involved in a physical fight with a nightclub security guard. She expressed her feelings of this by saying, "It's my own fault. I should have walked away from the situation." With over 45,000 followers on her Instagram account, this 22-year-old could be seen sharing insight about her lavish lifestyle. She shares about her life through pictures on social media with her fans. Fans can even find her picture with her soccer player boyfriend. Just as many celebrities, Jane is also familiar with the haters. Jane has constantly received hate messages on her social media platforms, but all the hate in the world did not stop her from posting photos of herself online. She even put a picture of herself holding up a lot of cash on Twitter to answer back her haters, on which she wrote the caption, "Read some very nasty comments about myself, so this photo is for all my haters." However, her haters did not take this action lightly, and the hateful comments were showered upon her once again. As a result, Jane hired bodyguards for her safety. Other than hate messages, she also received messages saying that they are going to attack her. She was just 17 years old when she saw all this hate around her, and soon she realized the dark side of fame. Jane told about her Snapchat hijacked incident on Twitter, where she wrote, "My Snapchat has been hijacked. No one Snapchat me. They are also demanding money from me to get back into it." The Snapchat being hijacked was a very personal attack on her, and she got to know about the reality of fame and fortune. Because of all the hate comments, messages, and media attention, Jane suffered from severe social anxiety that literally broke her from inside. By this time, she locked herself in the house for many months. Soon she realized that she was alone, and her so-called friends were nowhere in sight. There was a good side, too, in her that people never tried to see. Yes, she spent her money on cars, clothes, and plastic surgery, but she even helped people in need. However, not everyone felt the same about her helping out people. She talks about one incident in particular. She said, "The worst was when I'd paid for the travel insurance for a young boy who was sick to go to Florida, and a couple of folks said I was just doing it for publicity." Being independent is one of the best feelings in the world, but in the same time of personal crisis, we look for our family to help and support. And that's what Jane did. When she was dealing with hate, failed love life, and trust issues, her family came to the rescue. Jane has told about her family and how they helped in lifting her spirit. She is grateful for having loving parents and brother and sisters who have always been there for her. After winning the lottery, she didn't know how much to share with her family. She wanted to give them some of it, but remember, she was just 17 when she won the lottery. It was hard to decide how much was enough, but not too little. "I didn't know how people were going to take it," Jane admitted. That was the most stressful part. Yes, she bought this big house for herself to live in with all the luxuries, but still, everything inside the house couldn't make the feeling of being lonely go away. After the walls of the house started to bite her, she decided to move back in with her mom in their 2-bedroom apartment. This was the best decision she made since winning the lottery. We don't know about money, fame, or future, but she was definitely getting back some of her normal life. She was afraid of moving out of the house, that her mother had to come to bring Jane from her house. She convinced herself that if she moves out alone, then there will be people outside waiting to scare her away. She had gone from a normal teenager to a complete wreck. She needed the change. After moving out from her big house to her mother's house, she still faced some difficulties in communicating with the group of girls she had before she became rich. "It's scary how different my life is from my friends." When they say they're stressed about money, they mean their wages are horrible, she continued. There's no one in the same boat as me, no one who really understands. I feel like I'm a 40-year-old. Many people even suggest her on getting rid of the money that caused her this much trouble in life. To which she has responded, "What? Nah." And that's fair. Ask yourself the same question of giving away all the money you have. No, right? Thought so. Since she won the lottery at such a young age, she still has a lifetime to spend it. We think she has this natural talent for winning money. One time she won $17,300 after betting $7,000 on a Scottish soccer team. Even having such a huge amount in her bank, the money kept coming to her. Since winning the lottery caused her so much trouble in life, winning more money did not make her life any easier. Today she is trying to stay on the right path. She has started to deal with her life problems in a more positive way. Jane expressed, "I suppose now that I'm a bit older, it's a bit better. Now it's been a twisted fairy tale. I was overly excited. I thought I was rich and famous. You have got to invest it. You have got to be wise. But at 17, that was a lot to think about." She sold her house that she bought after winning the lottery and managed to make a $28,000 profit from her sale. All these efforts she was making was an attempt to live a more normal life. Rather than spending her money on senseless things, she started investing money in properties. Jane has been taking therapy to cope up with her negative emotions, but Jane has something entirely different on her mind. She is planning on filing a lawsuit against UK lotto bosses Camelot. Jane's life was completely ruined after winning the lottery at such a young age and doesn't want other teenagers to go through the same. During an interview on a UK television talk show, Jane explained her decision of filing the lawsuit. "I just feel like at 17 you are either still in school or just left school, and at that stage in your life where you are deciding what chapter comes next." Jane hopes that the lawsuit's decision will change the current minimum lotto playing age. At present, legal age in the UK currently stands at 16 years to purchase a lottery ticket. Jane expressed, "I think 18 would be the minimum age for winning the lottery." But Camelot has responded to Jane's claims and have stated that they have offered every support and guidance since her winnings. Camelot has their own side of the story on this matter. They said, "Following her win, Jane received extensive support from Camelot." It continued, "A dedicated winner's advisor visited Jane at home to pay out her prize, arranging private banking and support her through the publicity when she chose to share the news of her win. Today she is living a happy and sensible life." She told, "I'm trying to be sensible. I'm trying not to be a stereotypical teen. I want people to look at my life and think something positive has come out of it." She still spends her money on things, but not on everything. Jane warns all the young people who desire to win the lottery. To them, she says, "I would encourage any young people not to go public. They should listen to what their family says." She added, "You have to invest wisely. We all learn from our mistakes, but we become wiser learning from the experiences of others."